Thank you so much for listening to Urbanistica Podcast. I am Mustafa Sharif, an urban planner, and you're more than welcome to join my big journey of exploring the making of smarter and more livable cities. Please don't forget to follow Urbanistica on the different social media platforms, and also let's connect on LinkedIn. Big thanks to Urbanistica Podcast partner, AFRY. AFRY is an international engineering and design company providing sustainable solutions in the fields of energy, industry, and infrastructure. Are you ready for a new episode? Let's go for it. Today we have a short episode, but really great episode. I have the pleasure to welcome back one more time Tigran Hass to Urbanistica Podcast. Hey, and welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me again. Wonderful to be back on your super program.
How are you doing?
It's good. We just have to wait this out, as one of my colleagues. Yeah.
So in this episode, we're going to talk about the collaboration that we're going to do between the Center for the Future of Places and Urbanistica Podcast. And I would love to ask you to introduce yourself short, because we had really great episode, so people can listen to it if they are more interested in.
Thank you so much. Tigran Hass, I'm the director, as you said, of the Center for the Future of Places, based at KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology. And I'm also working there as an associate professor in urban planning and urban design at the Department of Urban Planning and Environment. Parallel with that, till the end of this year, I'm also a guest research scholar at the Leventhal Center for Advanced Urbanism at MIT Media Lab, based at Media Lab with my good friend and colleague, Alan Berger.
Yeah, you're doing so many things.
Yeah, multitasking, I'm like Susan Rice, Condoleezza Rice. They used to multitask. Susan Rice worked for Obama. She said she did 12 things parallel. So she's my role model.
Wow.
You're the same. So we're the same.
Yeah. Tell me about this research center, the background of it.
It was actually set up almost 5 years ago, because we have a lifespan of 5 years. We're closing it at the end of this year. In September, it will be more or less converted into a research lab. But the idea was it was based on two platforms. One was the Future of Places network conferencing event done by Project for Public Spaces with Fred Kent and Ethan Kent, that you probably know very well, from New York, UN Habitat, and the Axel St. Johnson Foundation. They decided to do a series of 3 conferences from 2011 to 2015, influencing the new urban agenda when it comes to public space in Quito. So, when that project ended, so at the same time ended the Civitas Athenium Laboratory. And this was a research platform I used to run at KTH, which was dealing with urban human behavior and urban form. We had a number of projects and PhD students and so on. So basically, it was an amalgamation of those two things, Mustafa. That's how it worked. Yeah.
And who started it?
Well, the center it's one of the KTH centers. It was sponsored by the Axel St. Johnson Foundation, so they put the seed money or the endowment money into it. So it was initiated by them. And I was already sort of in collaboration with them through the FOP and through the Civitas project we used to have for almost 11 years. And then basically we did the proposal and was accepted at KTH. So it became a KTH International Center for Research.
Yeah, and what is the proposal? What is the aim of this center?
The aim was that it creates an international research hub and sort of a clearinghouse. And when I say clearinghouse, I mean almost like a transit zone for high-quality researchers, guests, and a medial point for a number of events focusing on the importance of public realm in urbanism. So as they said in the conference, moving from objects to places, trying not to create a new discipline, because that is extremely difficult, but trying to lift up the discussion of public realm in between disciplines of urban social geography, environmental psychology, urban design, urban planning, architecture, landscape architecture, and political science. So that was the idea, probably.
Yeah, and I guess it's very big work and huge topics. Then you need a great team of researchers. Who was in your team?
Very correct. It was a very ambitious event, ambitious undertaking, and I think we went with light speed. We didn't crash as a SpaceX last rocket, but we I think we we did a lot, maybe too much, because the idea was the next 5 years we will work more on project-based things, on more case studies, more micro-environments. But around 14 projects in total, a lot of affiliated researchers. We worked collaboratively with University of Chicago, City University of New York, University of Cincinnati, London School of Economics, Bartlett, University College London, Harvard University, MIT, and then of course our colleagues at KTH. So there were projects ranged from geographies of age, studying different environments in Switzerland, Austria, and Sweden, and in terms of the aging society. We looked at the issue of streets, main streets. We looked at loneliness. We looked at authenticity and culture. We looked at the issues of, we created a big project which is now going to be launched in 2 or 3 months called Terra Publica, a huge project that deals with creating a database of the top research papers in public space. That was a collaborative effort between 4 universities. We also did the project on who owns the city and City for All. And there were a number of smaller projects on urban form, on morphologies, on transportation and so on, living labs. So most of them are finishing now. So I think, and with that, we had almost 250 events and stuff, which was just amazing. We even created a new database or a new dictionary of events, and fortunately now we have you also, which we wanted to have a podcast that would sort of include some of our prominent projects in the center.
Now you're almost finishing the project, and what's going to be next? Is there any like 2.0?
I think one of the big things that happened during the COVID-19 crisis and this whole pandemic is that a lot of external funding and foundations sort of became a little bit more careful, and a lot of money has been relocated to different things. So one of the big things is that we're not going to have this funding so we can continue with this huge center again. But I think it will be much more on a smaller scale in terms of a laboratory, urban lab, which we still don't have a name for that, which will focus mainly on 1 or 2 specific projects. One was humanizing smart cities that I was very interested in, and something that I've wanted to do with Alan Berger at MIT. And the second one will probably be something continuation on one of the elements from the public space package we have. We don't know yet. It will be a lab, and with a much smaller number of events, so to speak.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. So tell me, what is the collaboration going to be about? Tell the listeners between Urbanistica and the center.
Well, it's fantastic that, of course, I found your podcast. Amazing people that you have interviewed, and they have shared knowledge. And of course, they didn't just share knowledge, it was a mutual benefit because you posed these important questions, and it was not just a one-way street. It was a very fruitful discussion. And as I said, we had an idea to create a podcast that somebody would do it, but I just couldn't find a person to do it. The idea was now with you in this last season of the center, and also during the Zoom, Teams, WebEx era of communication, that you would interview and discussions with maybe 6, 8, or 9 main project leaders from the center, so they could share their knowledge. Because as in terms of products, we're going to have project reports, there will be books and papers as I speak, but I think it's also good that one hears the people that have been leading these things, like people like Seth Talol or Sabina Knirbayan or Charles Wolf or Konrad Kickert or Srećko Horvat. What did they actually, how did they perceive this project during this period?
Yeah, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be part of this, and at least share this. At least share the audio experience of the center. Right. Yeah. So how can the listeners access what you produce in the center?
There is I don't have it right with me now. We have a YouTube channel, which was created by our former media production person, Kevin Billinghurst. And there you will find around these 200 events that are put on I think it's integrated within the YouTube media platform at KTH. So they can basically access everything we have produced, including the famous Athena Female Scholars Distinguished Series. And the podcast will also come there, but also it will be featured on our webpage at KTH.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to do the podcast and also to keep in touch with you and hopefully see you and talk to you in the next coming episodes.
The same Always a pleasure, and stay safe and continue the great work, and we continue loving cities, right?
Yes, always. Yes, always. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.